As promised, here's my how to go vegan guide. Preferably, I would have finished this before the holidays and had some resources for you guys as to what you could eat during your celebrations. But it's too late for that now. But I will have some resources down below of maybe something you could try. The issue is that I prefer to look into Finnish resources because, I mean, I hate it when recipes are in grams or cups. Isn't there like even multiple different cup measurements? Well, if you do want to know what I'm eating this winter and New Year, you can head on out to my Instagram at itbemu and I will post there what I'm eating. It's probably gonna be in the stories and I'll create like a story highlight so you can find it there. That being said, January is almost here, and I think that's a good time to try out veganism and vegan recipes because there's a lot of resources. There's the Veganistic that starts every January, as well as the January. And I assume quite a few vegan creators are going to be posting their tips as well. If you do want to ask me, my exams are coming up in January, going into February, so it's gonna be a busy time for me. But despite the flood of comments, I'm sure I'll have resources enough to answer you in the comments or at my Instagram. So you can go find that old community post. No one's gonna see your comments, so it's a safe place to say anything. Not anything. Not anything. Please. In this video, there's going to be both more mindset type of tips as well as more tangible steps that you can take. And in my opinion, both of those are important. This salad is massive. I keep making the same mistake. Every time I'm just like, ooh, I'll make a small salad. This happens. I got so many questions and presumptions that it's virtually impossible to answer all of them. So in the name of fairness, I just decided to ignore all of that and just go with what I think you guys are thinking about and struggling with. The number one thing I would want to say, if you're at all curious about trying veganism or more plant-based diets, is that doing something imperfectly is better than not doing it at all. And you can start from the things that are easy for you. I have like 20 minutes before I need to leave. I have a flight tomorrow morning and I haven't packed and everything's a mess. My time management skills are appalling. Also, I'm very much looking forward to bringing some salad dressings from Finland. Last time I brought one and two mayonnaises. And here I can only find this one vegan salad dressing and another one, but it was straight up just plain mayo. So I'm gonna fill my luggage with salad dressing, mayo, toothpaste, and bread and candy. My number one tip, if I didn't already use the number one on my list, is to be patient and kind to yourself and others. Because lifestyle changes are not easy, and we can't expect to be perfect overnight. And you should also remember that everyone makes mistakes, and just because you make a mistake doesn't mean you have to give the whole thing up. Nor does it mean that if someone else makes a mistake, they are no longer vegan. I think that kind of mentality can prevent us from making these changes in our lives as well as push other people away from them. As I said, which was my number one tip, doing something imperfectly is better than not doing it at all. So take your time and be intentional about the change you want to make. My second tip is to not go hungry. To minimize mistakes and frustration or a chance of a relapse, if you will, eat. When we're hungry, we are less likely to make good choices, I think. And it's harder to reason with yourself. And when first going vegan, it does get easier. I never go, oh, I'm so hungry, I wish I could eat animal products. But when first going vegan, I really think you should not go to the grocery when you're hungry or start looking at food options only after you're already hungry. Because then there's a chance you'll just go back to what you know. And if you're going out, you should look up where you can eat Or if you know there's not going to be many food options for you, eat beforehand. Also, if you are out and there's no food for you, remember that this is not the only time you're able to eat good food. If you're at your aunt's and you can't eat the cake, you can just pop into a cafe on your way back to get bakeries, or you can have cookie dough in your freezer so you can bake cookies as soon as you get home. Make it easy for yourself. If you are out and happen to find yourself in a situation where there's nothing good for you to eat, make a note of that, and for the next time, know you can prevent that situation happening again. There is solutions, and you deserve to eat good food too. Here's my two absolute favorite cookie recipes. And I have a short video where I make carrot cake, which is underrated. Underrated. It's so good. Carrot cake is my favorite cake. And my third tip kind of goes hand in hand with the second one, which is plan ahead. You should make a shopping list before you go to the grocery. You should plan the meals you're gonna make, especially when you're first going vegan, and you should look up places where you can eat. You should also go to a place that actually has like adequate and good vegan options rather than an afterthought, because in a lot of places there are a lot of options. And maybe your favorite restaurant already has something vegan you could try. And to bridge these two tips together, think about the moments when you think it's gonna be the hardest for you to maintain your resolution. Honestly, it's not gonna be difficult. At this point, it's not difficult for me anymore. I don't think about it. But in the beginning, especially when you're hungry or you haven't found what you like, it can be difficult. So think about those moments when you think it might be difficult for you specifically and what could be a solution for those moments. Maybe it could be having a snack with you whenever you go somewhere or eating always before you leave the house. Okay, but what should you then put on that grocery list? One simple way to start is to veganize recipes you already know and love. Honestly, basically everything can be veganized. Also, if you don't get it right the first time, try again. Normally, when we try something new, we always have notes for the future that, oh, it would have needed more garlic or more vanilla extract. And for the next time, you can make those changes. Don't give up after one bad meal. An easy way to know how to veganize your meals is just to Google it. You can look up vegan meatballs or vegan creamy pasta, and there's going to be so many recipes. Some swaps are no-brainers and others might take a little bit more work. And a bonus tip is that start making the change intentionally. Maybe you're not ready to fully jump in, but you can make the changes that are easy for you first, like changing the cooking cream you use to a plant-based one, or the whipping cream you use to a plant-based one, or your coffee milk to a plant-based milk. I recommend using a barista milk because just the regular plant milks can sometimes act a little bit odd in your coffee. I also recommend staying away from almond milk because to me it tastes like that stuff you put on your nails to stop you from biting it, but it is also very popular, so I guess some people like it. For me, soy and oat are the best. I use oat most, but I do think oat has a little bit of a different taste, and soy is more neutral, especially if you're used to drinking low fat. I would also choose the unsweetened variant because the sweet one tastes like you already have sugar in your coffee. And meat. That's where it gets a little bit more interesting because there's so many different options. And here I think you need to find what you like. There are vegan sea sticks. There are vegan nuggets, which in Belgium I find very risky because there are some that I absolutely cannot eat and others that I love. So when it comes to produce, you might need to try and find which ones you like. Minced meat is really easily replaceable by, for example, soy. That can also be cheaper, especially if you buy it as like dry soy. They just don't have it here in Belgium where I shop. There is a big difference between what vegan product different groceries and chains carry, so you should go and look around your local shop to see what your options are. Eggs? Now that's a little bit more complicated. Depending on the purpose that you would use the egg for. Like in baking, sometimes you can just completely omit the egg completely.
3 eggs! 3 eggs! 3 eggs to 3 deciliters of flour. How is that gonna taste like anything other than egg?
Or you can replace it with baby food, like apple jam, or Even beans, that is actually common to bake with beans. There's also egg replacements. I'm not a big fan, but I haven't tried them that much. For eggy taste, you could use black cumin. Here again, I think the best course of action is to just look up what you're trying to do. And for a lot of recipes, there are already vegan options, like vegan chocolate cake. Easy. There's also a lot of recipes that are already vegan, like a lot of curries, for examples, that you can just look up. My fifth tip, and this might be the most important one, do not restrict yourself. Vegan diet inherently is not restrictive. There's many different ways to be vegan, and veganism is sustainable for everyone in any walk of life, in any point in their life. I think that these more restrictive forms of veganism, like being a fruitarian or a raw vegan, are too restrictive. And in these types of diets, it can be hard to get all the nutrients you need and a good volume of food. Of course, I am not a dietitian, but I don't think these diets are sustainable in the long run. There's so many different ways to be vegan. You can only eat chips and drink beer, or you can eat only like whole foods. There's a huge spectrum of vegan diets, like regular diets. In my opinion, the more restrictive your diet is, the harder it is to sustain. And the harder it is for you to get all the nutrients and a good volume of food. Of course, I'm not a dietitian. There is a lot of confusing and contradictory information when it comes to nutrition. So if you are making big lifestyle changes, it might be good to consult a dietitian or look up different sources. Like Sadia from Pickup Lines is a registered dietitian and her channel is so wholesome and she has so many good recipes. Or Dr. Michael Kreger from nutritionfacts.org website and YouTube channel, a very different kind of source, but they also have recipes and a lot of science-based information when it comes to nutrition explained in a very simple way. You should not make your diet into an obsession. You don't have to have a perfect diet. You just shouldn't restrict yourself. And as mentioned before, there are so many different easy to use tools to make sure that you get a good amount and right kinds of foods. I like the food pyramid or the Daily Dozen app or Chronometer. That one is a little bit more complicated to use, in my opinion, than, for example, the Daily Dozen, so that's why I prefer that one. Another easy way, if you're worried about something specific, like if you get enough protein, is to look at your plate and think, is there a source of protein here? And you can add it. Or take a meal that you would regularly eat and just substitute the protein source in that. Before my sixth tip, I want to remind you again that I am not a dietitian. This is my opinion, this is what I do, and I'll give you my sources as to why I've made this decision, but I'm not a dietitian. So you should really look into this yourself. Maybe you want to talk to your healthcare provider. But my sixth tip is to take vitamins. I personally take D vitamin and B12. Nowadays, these are normally added to your produce, so you get them from your diet as well. Like they are added to a animal products as well. Like B12 isn't produced by animals, so it's added to their diet as well. But you can just keep the cow and get the supplement yourself. For a lot of vegans, it's recommended to get B12, and D vitamin is something that from my understanding, everyone should probably supplement for, regardless of their diet. You could also take a multivitamin depending on your situation and what you think you need. I really need to start leaving soon. My seventh tip is to start from what is easy for you. This kind of came already, but I think it's a very important point. Veganism is not only a diet, and it impacts multiple different aspects of your life, like your wardrobe or your skincare. But if you do have leather boots, wear them out. Get them fixed and wear them out again. Like, you getting rid of them is not gonna prevent any more harm from happening. Companies nowadays are very good at telling if their products are vegan or not. Like Garnier is very good in that, for examples. What I like to do is just Google the product name, and if I can't find in a few minutes if it's vegan or not, I'm gonna assume it's not, and then I'm just gonna move on to another product. But again, when you're first going vegan, think about replacing your products one at a time rather than trying to do all of it at once, because it can be very overwhelming. As you're running out of one product, look up what you could substitute it with. And I recommend doing the research outside of a shop, because you might end up spending half an hour at the cosmetics aisle not getting anything and just getting frustrated because you can't find the right information. My eighth tip is to look for a community, one that is non-judgmental and encouraging. And, I don't think gatekeeping and judging is a good way to go about it. We all want to make positive changes, and if we as a community are turning people away from this lifestyle, that just doesn't further our cause. It doesn't serve a purpose. Making these changes can be very difficult, and I think it would be good to find a place where you can feel welcome in and find helpful and encouraging tips, be it friends or a YouTube channel, an Instagram hashtag, anything. And my last tip is to think about your why. Look up information and documents, be interested in it and informed. Also, remember to consider people's motives and the stories where you're getting your information from, because that's important. And remember that trying something new doesn't always work out for the first time, so you can try again, and have fun with it. It's fun to try out new recipes or new meals. Okay, I'm gonna go and try to catch my train now. I didn't eat my salad, which is a bummer, but I really need to rush. Thank you so much for watching this. Yeah, I appreciate it.